What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out some brand new C cards that just got revealed. These got revealed in the V-Jump, and it's really cool because it looks like Konami is trying to turn C into a real full-fledged archetype. And before, you really couldn't say it was an archetype, it was more kind of like a theme. I mean, I know that we had multiple sets over, different eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! And you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the hand trap cockroaches, Max C, Flying C, Retaliating C, Black Shiny C, etc. etc. But the thing is, the cards didn't really have any like synergy with each other. I believe Retaliating C was the only card that kind of worked with the other cards. That was one where if it went to the graveyard, it could get you like a Max C from your deck, and that was pretty cool. But it's not like, Black Shiny C worked with Flying C or anything like that. The cards really didn't have any synergy with each other at all. These new cards are meant to kind of work as an archetype, and I think that that is definitely dope. So we have 4 cards to talk about, but one of them is actually a vanilla, so there won't be much to really discuss there. I guess we can go over the flavor text. It's actually pretty cool. That card is where I'm going to start, and the reason I'm starting with the vanilla, that might seem like a strange place to start, but it actually works. Like, a lot of these cards work with vanilla monsters, so I feel like we got to talk about this guy first. His name is Sea Ranger Shine Black, and C stands for like cockroach, and it's a pretty good looking card, honestly. Like, the artwork on it looks incredibly awesome. He looks kind of like a badass insector, and it looks like the artwork was done by like Michael Bay or something, as there's a bunch of like explosions in the background, and he's wearing all black leather and whatnot. It's a really cool looking card. Anyways, it's an Earth level 4 insect monster, obviously. 2000 attack and 0 defense, which my first thought was, okay, well, we just power creeped Insect Knight out of the game. Probably. Insect Knight, if you don't know, is level 4. It's 1900 attack. I mean, I don't really see a reason to run Insect Knight anymore, as you can just run this, get 100 more attack. But Insect Knight is a card people used to use way back in the day during like the GX days for the Demise OTK deck, so it's fine power creeping a card that was, good 10, or excuse me, like a dozen, 13 years ago, something like that. Now, the flavor text says, the Raven Radiance that races across the battlefield wearing suits that shine the purest black. It's the Sea Rangers who dwell in the shadows. They oppose giant monsters with their hidden prowess of flight. That actually sounds pretty cool, but, knowing the TCG, they're gonna change it to something dumb. Check this out. It's probably gonna be, this ranger is lit or something stupid like that. But I think that flavor text is actually pretty cool. Now let's go and talk about their new boss monster. I did predict just by the artwork that this was going to be a boss monster, by design. I thought that maybe there was a small possibility that it could also be a hand trap. I thought it'd be kind of cool if it was a boss monster and a hand trap. This is out of the 4 cards kind of the most underwhelming card, which is just it's kind of disappointing. Anyways, this is Super Armored Robot Weapon Black Iron C. It's a level 8. Level 8s are obviously good because of stuff like trade and whatnot. It is also Earth attribute, 2400 attack, 2800 defense. 2400 attack is kind of low for a level 8 monster, to be honest. Now, the first and the second effect, which are the only effects on this card, are both hard once per turns. First effect says, if you have 3 insect monsters with the same name in your graveyard, you can target any number of those cards, special summon this card from your hand, then equip those targets to this card as equip card. So it's kind of similar to like Sea Lancer. If you guys ever played like, Sea Lancer Frogs, kind of reminds me of Sea Lancer a little bit. Sea Lancer, I think, used to summon from the banish pile, not the graveyard. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. The second effect says you can send 1 monster equipped by this card's effect to the graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls whose attack is higher than or equal to the attack of the monster sent to the graveyard. So basically, you want to use a whole bunch of little bugs from your graveyard, and you kind of just want to add them onto this guy, and then potentially you could have like a nice little Regeki. Like if you sent, I don't know, let's just say Maxi somehow got unbanned in the TCG and it was at 3, or let's just use the OCG as an example, as it's at 3, you'd be able to send Maxi to the graveyard, and if your opponent had any like high attack monsters on the field, you'd be able to nuke all of them. My biggest problem with this card is the fact that like you have to have 3 monsters of the same name. I don't understand. It's 2000 2018. Why couldn't it just be 3 insect monsters in the graveyard? What is the likelihood of you getting 3 monsters in the graveyard, all of them being insects, and they all have the same name? And then what if it's a high attack monster that you bring back? Then the effect's not going to be that good. You don't even get any protection. I thought that it would have given at least a little protection like Sea Lancer. Like Sea Lancer, if the card would be destroyed by battle or like card effect, then you can like, you can actually blow up one of the equip cards instead. Like that would have been kind of nice. Overall, this boss monster is incredibly disappointing. And by the way, these cards are coming out in the V-Jump. It's really weird how Konami is releasing some of this support in Soul Fusion, and then some of it is coming out as like V-Jump promos. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, especially for us in the TCG, because who the hell knows when we'll get these cards. But let's go ahead and talk about the 2 cards from Soul Fusion that I think are actually both good. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think that Ranger is fine. 2000 attack for a vanilla insect is fine. I think that we've had a lot of those released lately. The first card is Keepo, and it was told to me by you guys in the comment section that Goki means cockroach in Japanese, so I mean it obviously makes sense. This is a card that I think is actually incredibly good. So it says that it is a level 3 earth insect monster, 1000 attack, 1200 defense. Its effect is a hard once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 level 4 insect monster from your deck to your hand. Okay, we're already good. Just reading one sentence in, the card basically replaces itself as soon as it's sent to the graveyard. Does not have to be from the field to the graveyard. Keep that in mind. If you discard it for, Twin Twist or whatever, or if it just happens to be sent with Foolish Burial, it's still going to actually trigger. It says, in addition, if you added a normal monster by this effect, you can special summon it, then destroy 1 monster on the field whose attack is higher or equal than the attack of the special summon monster. This is an incredible card for so many reasons. First off, we just talked about how they're getting a vanilla 2000 attacker. This means that, let's just say, for instance, your opponent runs it over while it's face down. Your opponent also has like a Boilo Dragon on the field. You can actually summon Ranger from your deck. Well, you add Ranger from your hand, then you special summon it, then you can actually blow up their Boilo Dragon. Yes, this card does not actually target. It just says you blow up a monster on the field. It doesn't say target the monster and then blow it up. That is really good. I mean, you're talking about a card that floats and gives you the potential of summoning a monster, and then on top of that gives you the potential of blowing up a monster. Like, this card is already a 1-for-1, but then on top of that, it gives you potential field presence and you can blow up a monster. Like, that's field removal as well, and all of those effects are optional. You don't have to special summon if you don't want to, and you don't have to blow up a monster if you don't want to. So I look at this card and I'm just like, yeah, this seems really, really good. Especially being able to use it during either player's turn is magnificent. It doesn't have to actually hit the field to be used. So, you might run Foolish Burial in this deck, which I'm thinking you probably will. Now, the field spell is actually really, really cool. It's called Giant Ballpark. And it's got a couple of bug monsters actually playing baseball. You know how Japanese people like baseball. The first and the second effects are both hard once per turns. It says, during damage calculation, you can make the battle damage inflicted to either player from that battle 0. And if you do, you can send 1 level 4 lower insect monster from your deck to the graveyard. In addition, if the monster you sent was a normal monster, you can special summon any number of cards with the same name from your hand, deck, and or graveyard. That is, how can you not fucking like that? That is so awesome. You're talking about not only getting a Foolish Burial to potentially block battle damage that your opponent may have hit you with, but then you can actually summon additional copies as well. And we just talked about how if you send Goki-Pole to the graveyard, Goki-Pole is going to basically replace itself, and then it is actually going to let you potentially special summon if you send, or if you actually add a normal monster. So this works with Goki-Pole. It also lets you use Ranger. If you happen to send Ranger to the graveyard, then you get to summon 2 more Rangers on the field, which obviously is pretty damn cool, especially considering that now you've got potential for a rank 4 play. You can go for a Link summon if that's what you want to do. There are just so many different options. Now, it also says in the second effect, if a monster you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 insect normal monster from your graveyard. This tells me that Konami definitely wants you to run not just the Ranger in this deck, but I mean, maybe you could even spice things up and go like Metal Armored Bug, which is a level 8 vanilla monster. People used to also run that during GX for the Demise OTK deck. I mean, imagine if you sent that to the graveyard, right? Your opponent attacks you, they're going to do battle damage. You send a metal armored bug to the graveyard. You end up summoning 2 more copies out. Like, now you got a rank 8 potentially and a bunch of damage. Like, this card seems, by design, like the field spell seems really awesome. And I like the fact that you can actually activate the effect during either player's turn. So even if your opponent is just like, they're saying, no, I'm not going to attack you. I'm not going to use Regeki. I'm not going to use a torrential or bottomless so that you can get a vanilla out of your graveyard for free. Even if your opponent is not trying to trigger your card, you can just manually trigger it. All you got to do is just summon a monster, or if you have a monster on board, just attack them where you'd be able to do damage, and then you can just cut the damage down to 0 and summon out 2 monsters by sending a vanilla to the graveyard. So this support actually seems pretty cool. I think that I'm most disappointed by the boss monster. I think it's actually kind of trash. Hopefully Konami decides to go ahead and import these into TCG and Soul Fusion so that we can have all 4 cards together and we be able to just like play it as an actual archetype. But if only 2 of the cards are in Soul Fusion and then the other are just promos, who the hell knows when we're going to get those. I always point out, you know, Fright for Patchwork. The Fuffle players have been waiting for that card for like how long? 2-3 years now at this point. Anyways, whatever you guys think of these new Sea Cockroach cards, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.